Hey everybody, my name is Bill Kirby. Today we are going to be talking about the piece Snowflight by Andrew York. If you haven't heard any of his music, you should definitely check out his music. He's a fantastic guitar player. He's one of my favorite guitar players, and he's also one of my favorite writers for guitar. He's just a fantastic writer for the guitar. He's contributed a lot of work for modern guitar, so it's way fun. So we're going to be talking about Snowflight today, and we're just going to be going through all the little parts, and I'll just kind of show you some of the stuff that I do to help out the piece and really make the piece work. So hope you're having a great day. So let's check out the right hand first. I'm going to move in right here. Here we are, and I'm going to set my thumb up on the A string, right? And then I'm going to set my index finger up on the G and my middle finger up on the B string. And it's a pretty simple pattern. It's just thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle. And I'm doing a rest stroke with my thumb because I feel like that gives me a whole lot more stability rather than like just kind of being in the air, you know, like am I gonna hit the right string, especially when we're changing strings just like I'm doing right now. So I'm really trying to rest stroke, especially into the D string, not as much into the G, just because I'm playing it. I don't want to cut it off. Right. So let's slow that down. That was pretty long, and I was talking. So we'll try it again. So it's thumb with the rest stroke, index, middle, and then as you saw, now I'm switching between the A string and the D string with the finger roll. And this is a nice little thing to practice as you're warming up for the piece Snowflight. There's a joke in there somewhere. I know that there is, warming up for the piece Snowflight. So leave that in the comment section. Leave that in the comment section below if you have a joke for Snowflight and warming up. That's your first assignment. So now we're going to have a look at the other hand, and we're just going to look at that opening phrase. I'm going to back up so you can see both of my hands and see what they're doing. Right? So here on my left hand, I'm starting with a C in the bass. And then with my index and middle, I'm hitting the G string and the B string. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my ring finger where it is for this entire little phrase. Right? It's going to, I mean, it does the same thing on this hand as it does on this hand with the rest stroke almost. It just kind of gives me a little bit more stability because like I like to say to all of my people in general, but mostly my fingerstyle people and classical people, is that you have more strings than you have fingers, right? So the more stability that you have to be able to navigate that, the better chance you have of landing in the right place. And especially right now, I'm playing a steel string guitar for fingerstyle, which I think this piece is nice for that, but the strings are much closer together than they are on a nylon string guitar. So Very cool. So let's get back into it. I have my C in the bass. Then I'm going to put down my middle finger on an A, second fret of the G string. And now I'm picking the D, open D with my thumb, the A with my the A note with my index, and then the open B string. And then I have my index finger that moves in to the E. Right? We'll look at that again. Now I messed it up. Here we go. And that's a good practice for as you're, again, kind of warming up and getting into the piece, right? Because, you know, I mean, this is all, it all goes back into, we want to learn the piece, absolutely, but what are we going to learn in that process? There's a process of learning that goes through anything that, I mean, we can really take a piece and we can really start to work with it, and we can really start to develop ideas and different techniques, and we can get a lot of practice out of playing a piece, right? And that's one of my big goals, is I'm always trying to work toward playing a piece, but in that process I'm developing exercises around those pieces, right? So that's a good thing to note. So we're going to get back in here. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be on the other hand, and we're going to be picking on the A string again, but now we're going to be on the index finger with the B string and the middle finger on the open E. Right? And then we're going to be moving to the D string. So again, we can do the same kind of alternating practice that we did before with the A string and the D string with the thumb. Is it going to be perfect every time? Probably not, but I mean, you know, that's why we're warming up and we're, you know, getting practice out of playing a piece again. So now that we've done that, we're going to be on this hand, and we're still going to be on the C. C in the bass. Right? And we can still leave that down. Then I'm going to put my finger down on the C, which is of the B string. So that's the first fret of the B string. I'm sorry, and I'm actually picking the wrong string now. So it's actually the open D. So it's very similar from before, but it's not quite the same. So it's middle finger on that C, index finger on the C at the first fret of the B string, and then my middle finger is on the second fret of my D string, that's an E. Right, so that's like the first phrase of Snowflight. So together now we have right, I'm playing it slower than I think is marked in the score, but we're doing it for educational purposes. So there you go. It's not supposed to be that fast though. So moving on. Now you have that. So now that you've been able to put those two pieces together, the next thing that we can work on is really kind of swelling that dynamic, because I like to use the title of the piece to kind of showcase what what's going to happen in the piece. And I mean, the piece is Snowflight, and you know, I imagine snow moving around, and I try to move the dynamics around in a way that kind of resembles that snow moving around, right? So I don't start off too loud, and I try to swell it upwards and then down and then back up again and then back down. So now I'm going to do this again slower than recorded so I can really right, I really, you know, I kind of kept it semi up. No, I'm not in the right screen. I tried to keep it about like here, and then move it up. And you know, I don't do exactly what I want to do every single time, but again, that's why we're practicing, right? So we practice, I practice this one little phrase, right? And I really try to work on doing that dynamic. Yeah, and that's really how you can make the music yours, right? I mean, you can really make the performance of a piece really into something rather than you know, I mean, this is what's written on the page, but you can really, I mean, this is where all those real like emotions come out in the music. So that's way fun. The next phrase is kind of similar. On the dynamic scale, except for it's a little bit, I mean, it's more exaggerated. So let's go over that. So now we're going to be on this hand. We're going to be on the D string with our thumb. We have index finger on the B string and middle finger on the E string. And then we're going to be switching to the G string with the thumb. So again, you know, I mean, we're here, and then we're here, and now we're here. So we're getting a whole lot of finger roll practice. So D, B, E, G, B, E. Then we're going to be on the other hand. We're going to start on an F sharp on your D string. That's the 4th fret of your D string. And this is everybody's favorite part because it's open G, open B, open E twice. Hey, that's great. So this new chord, you have an A on your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then you have a C on the 1st fret of your B string, and then your open E. It's a little A minor chord. And then you just work your way back. Those are your open strings: open G, open D, open G, open B, open E. And then you have that F sharp, 4th fret of your D string. Then you have 2nd fret of your D string, which is an E, and then 1st fret of your B string, which is a C, and then that open. And that's the last chord. That's your open D, 2nd fret of your G string, which is an A, and 3rd fret of your B string, which is a D. Right, so now let's go over that. Now you have this. Right, a little bit slower. And that's another one that there's a big dynamic swell going on there. So you have to make sure to start this part with F sharp, 4th fret of your D string. You have to make sure to start this part softly because you really want to have a space to bring it up into. So really try to exaggerate that and really make that not as quiet as possible, but softer than anything else. Pretty much I would say that this is the softest part of the piece. So if you can remember that going into it, that's going to really help you out with the dynamics, and it's really going to help you bring the other part up. Right, so that's definitely, and you don't want to bring it up all the way because there's one other part in the piece that is supposed to be the loudest part of the piece, so you don't want it to be louder than that, but you definitely want to bring it from a piano to a medium. And so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first phrase. I'm going to spend some time and I'm really going to work that phrase, and I'm really going to work things on my right hand, and I'm really going to work things on my left hand, and I'm really going to work on really experimenting with that dynamic and really practicing it. Won't be perfect every single time, but you know, again, that's why we're practicing. And just have as much fun with that as possible, right? That's really the ultimate goal. And like, I personally, like when I'm practicing through different parts like that, I have a blast. I mean, it's actually one of my favorite parts because you're just really getting inside of the piece, and you're really getting a lot of work done. You're getting a lot of. I have a blast doing that. Sometimes I actually have to watch it so I don't only do that. I actually have to do the work and paste everything together too. So we're all working on it. So there are a couple more parts in the piece. Now we are at the what happens after the second repeat of the A section here, and now we're going to be on the A string, the D string, and the G string. And we're just going to be on those strings for this next part. We're going to start, on the other hand, on the 2nd fret of our A string, which is a B. This is actually my favorite part in the piece. So you have this finger, and you essentially have a little C major chord. You have a C, an E, and a G, so that's 3rd fret of your A string, 2nd fret of your D string, open G string, and then you just take these 2 fingers and you move them up 2 frets. So now you're on the 5th fret of your A string and the 4th fret of your D string. I always love little chords like that. That's always, I think that those are way fun. That little part is, again, I really try to keep that to be medium. This part is quieter than the next part, and actually the next little part is something that you already know. Kind of topped off with, I guess, an extra part. But we actually, after this part, oh, that was the worst. One more time. So we do that. Then we go back to our very first phrase. And then all we're doing is we're just on this last chord right here, 2nd fret of our D string. That's an E. Let me get in here. There we go. So it's thumb. And you see how I have all those guys all set up and ready to go. I'm not doing that, right? Where that goes right back into what I was talking about having more strings than you have fingers, right? So if you're like doing this and you're searching for it every time, are you gonna nail it every single time? I probably wouldn't. So again, I have those little things set in place. Cool. And then you come into the next part of the song. This is the loudest part of the song. This was what I was talking about earlier. So now let's set it up. We're on the open D string, B string, and E string with thumb, index, and middle. And then on this hand, we're on our 2nd finger, 2nd fret of our D string, and then I use my pinky finger for the G that is the 3rd fret of my E string, right? And then you have all open strings. That's open D. That's not right. Oh, now I, excuse me. So here, then you're gonna take these 2 fingers and move them back. That's 1st fret of your D string and 2nd fret of your E string. It's like a D sharp and a F sharp. And you notice how I'm utilizing all 4 of my fingers on my left hand. And now we have those open strings. Excuse me. So this is just the 4th fret of my A string now. And really the only, these 2 fingers stay put pretty much all the time for this little part. Excuse me, you can't see anything there. So it's only my thumb that's moving for this part. So one more time. And it's supposed to be louder. So actually practicing the last phrase into this phrase is really good, because then you can really start experimenting with the dynamics, such as so. then you're going to go so this is kind of your original chord, almost like your home base chord, if you would want to call it that. 3rd fret of my A string, open G, and then open B. Right? So that chord into this chord, which we ended, I think, our very first phrase with. So you have open D, then 2nd fret of your G string, 3rd fret of your B string. And just for reference, I don't play this like you would almost kind of expect, right? I find this to be really awkward for my hands, so I generally don't do this unless I have to. To me, this is a little bit more comfortable. And if I remember correct, I'm not looking at the score. I have the piece memorized. So I'm not looking at the score right now, but if I remember right, I think that the fingering that's in there is actually 2 and 4, like that. So cool. And then you have here. So this is the 3rd fret of your E string now, which is a G. And then you just have open B, open G and open B. Same picking pattern. Cool. So if I remember right, there's only one other part in the piece that we haven't talked about, and that is the very end. So it comes from that same spot, So we're at the very end of the piece now, and what we do is this. I messed up the rhythm there. Let me try that one more time. No, that's not it. It's see, this is what happens when you have it memorized, right? You forget it. So anyway, one more time. So we go. There it is. One more time. Cool. So that's very similar to, we start off on the 3rd fret of our A string. So this is very similar to our first phrase, except for now we're picking the A string, the D string, and the G string. Right, so together we have this. Then we're using our 2 middle fingers. So my middle finger is on the 2nd fret of my E string, which is an F sharp, and then my ring finger is on the 2nd fret of my G string, which is an A. And then I'm picking my E string, my D string, and my G string. And then I'm moving my middle finger up to an E, which is 2nd fret of the D string. Right, and I'm picking those same strings of E string, D string, G string. Then I move it up, so there's E string. I'll move it over here. So, and then so I just move that up every time, and then. This is kind of a new one. We have 5th fret of our B string and 3rd fret of our E string, which are an E and a G. And then this one, which I usually hit together, which are 8th fret of our B string and 7th fret of our E string. Very cool. So that pretty much goes over all the little parts in the piece and some little pointers that I have for the piece. So obviously, if you have any questions, you can either leave them in the comments, or you can talk to me about it when we're in class. So that would be way fun. And then I just uploaded a video, like a performance video of me playing Snowflight. So if you want to check that out, I will put the description below. So it's Snowflight by Andrew York. Check out Andrew York, and thank you for watching. I hope you're having a great day.